go to my favourite category, just kidding, the bad, of course. I say my favourite category. What people don't understand is this, right? This might sound like the weirdest fucking complaint of all time, because people are going to think, you obviously love it, but I actually don't like the fact that I'm always the one who has to be the hater. I'm always the one who has to say things as shit. But I have to say the shit, Vu, because people just like gaslight me that like they don't just say, I'm an really developed into one of the best role players. They're like, he's just the best player. Like, well, now I have to be the cunt again. So now even when I like the guy and I respect him, now I have to look like the cunt, don't I? Like, so I just, because I'm looking down the line. And then even, by the way, I'll give you a spoiler, Vu. In the green rooms, all the motherfuckers say all this shit that's totally legit. And then they go on the desks and they look at you in the fucking eye and they say, they take 20% off it. They put a fucking suit and tie around it. And then they go, and I think he's having challenges in the game. You look at him like, you betray, you sell out motherfuckers. So, where are you going on this? Come on, mate.
That Cadian clutch. I mean, Dev1ce so far on NiP is my bad take. Not that he's been horrifically bad, but
that's a pretty bold one. Yeah.
I expected more. We'll put it that way. I feel like there's several things where everyone always makes the excuse that I've seen people make the excuse that he's trying to slot into a system. However, I don't buy that as much when it comes to oppers. I really buy that when it comes to riflers, but I feel like oppers generally, and Dev1ce has been given a lot more space, I feel like, and made a lot more plays than Nock used to make. I feel like he's been given the openings to go aggressive and do his thing, and I don't know if I've really particularly liked what I've seen. It's not that he's awful. I just feel like he's not what I would have wanted from Dev1ce. I don't expect him to be simple. Look, he's not going to play like simple ever. I just feel like he could have opened up a little bit more. And I have seen him make plays that are suspect, we'll put it. I mean, look.
As in like bad decision making?
Well, yeah, like Astralis didn't play Mirage, but obviously he's played Mirage in FPL a million times, yes. Right? And so I'm thinking about one specific game. He opens up, I think, 0-7 against I think
it was Anonymous, right? Yeah, it was Anonymous.
Was it not?
Yeah,
no, it was definitely one of the.
In the rematch, he was 0-7. He did it twice then.
He's done it twice.
Fucking hell! All right. Let me think. Who was it? It would have been one of the IM games. So it might be Virtus Pro. Was it Virtus Pro?
Yeah, I think that might be it. No,
because I know he's doing fairly bad in some of that, man.
It was against Heroic.
Heroic. There we go.
Okay. Okay. So, the first gun round, he sits outside of A ramp in the corner, and everyone knows that if you go top ramp and you crouch, so a CT can see your feet and you can't see them from top ramp. He sits in the corner, he gets spotted, and he dies. Then, the second or third gun round, they. Heroic molly off the window smoke. He peeks the window smoke and he still gets the kill, but I just feel like you shouldn't really be doing that. Like if the timing was a little bit differently, he just dies there. And there was a couple of other plays where he didn't seem Dev1ce-esque. And I've always held the question of whether Dev1ce was as consistent as people made him out to be. Of course.
Are you about to do the thing where, people are like, Tom Brady's a system quarterback? You're like, Dev1ce, was he really an MVP, or was, the system? Are you going to go that angle here? Is this a hard push?
I'm not going that far. I think Dev1ce is fucking great, right? Obviously. But the question I've had is he as consistent as people have made him out to be? Because I feel like part of being Mr. Consistent and Simple not being held as that consistent, even though I feel like he's recently, at least for the last maybe year and a half or a couple of years, he's probably been pretty consistent.
Dude, the reason that fucks him? I'll tell you right now, because I understand the way people construct narratives. I agree, but it's the same bullshit that we all do where we go, Dev1ce is technically the best AWPer, and it's like, well, I mean, it depends how, that's because we're talking about the role of AWPer. Like, if we're actually saying who's the best at killing people with the AWP, it's simple and easy. Obviously, like, they win that. But we all do this fucked thing where we're trying to be, like, purists. So basically, what you're saying there, I agree with, is the reason Dev1ce is super consistent is because in Astralis, at least, he never has a bad game. He's always, like, up to a certain level. You can rely on him. Simple is just the best every fucking game. So technically, he should also be considered the most consistent, right? It's just, again, we're using some sort of fucked, like, way to... It's like we're telling him, the problem is, mate, you're too good at everything, so we have to give other people some titles. Like, they have to get something, mate,
Yeah, that's exactly the what I'm trying to say is like, he's in Astralis, in his system. Astralis is the best team of all time. He's doing well pretty much every game, but he's not like put on in a scenario where he has to like, I feel like he's in Astralis, he wasn't often put in scenarios where he had to go out and really do make it happen like Simple would.
He didn't have to break the game, did he?
Yeah, I felt like NiP was a bit of a test for that, and so far on NiP, I feel like he hasn't been nearly as consistent as I would have hoped.
Okay, where are you coming down on the Smarry Snake?
Well, the one game you're citing where he had problems was Mirage, and he didn't play that map for 2 years.
A lot of years.
Yeah, but I mean, you play Mirage in FPL, right? Like, you know this shit. That's
okay. Another thing is actually like on Hampus's HLTV Confirm recently, he was talking about how from one Mirage game against OG to the Mirage game against Heroic, they didn't practice at all on Mirage, and they switched a couple of spots because they were like, LNZ, this isn't working. Like, we need you to be somewhere else now. And he said he credited Dev1ce's inability to like work with that. Just like he doesn't know what's being watched, or he doesn't know who he's working with, which I do think is kind of like that is a knock against him, where it's just like why can't he just make the best of a situation regardless of the teammates next to him? But I kind of give like everything that Hampus said in that HLTV Confirmed kind of pointed to this thing where it was like they were in a very like this tournament was tumultuous for them, and they had only like the most they practiced any map with LNZ was Ancient, and they did it 3 times. So I think that I give Dev1ce a little bit of a pass in this tournament, particularly because he was just so exceptionally good at just elevating NiP's like ceiling. Like they broke through their ceiling immediately, you know, when he inserted himself onto that NiP roster at Flashpoint. And so I think that I actually do have to take the circumstance into account here that at IEM Summer, they were just like Linus doesn't know the plays. Like he literally didn't know the strats.
Dev1ce is an opera though, right? Like should he not be able to slot in more reasonably? Like do not buy into the idea that operas, you typically when you see an opera ringer for a team, they typically do just fine. In my
the only time I see an opera ringing all the time is Smooya, and that dude just doesn't care what any IGL tells him. So like that's like it's hard. Is like I agree.
That might be a good example though. To be fair, I'll give the contrast because obviously if you look at someone like Smooya, he does look like he gets to do whatever he wants because they know he's like far and away the best, and he basically has to have like pure fucking carte blanche because they wouldn't win any of these games otherwise because like some of the other players are a bit suspect. So that's actually a good analogy I would give to Dev1ce, because to me, Dev1ce is that was always what I found so interesting about how he played in Astralis. It's like once you acknowledge how the team plays and all the prep they do and everyone knows their role and stuff, it's like basically, to me, I thought the reason back in the day Dev1ce choked, this is a bit of an edgy take, because what I'm going to sort of tell you is, if you choke, some of that is sort of in your DNA, because some of it comes like personality, the way you think about the game. But what you can do, one of the best ways you stop people choking, is you find a way to make them more comfortable. Like you give them a player that plays off them, or in this particular case, you give them like a bunch of utility, or you don't tell them you have to get this pick. So my problem is this. To me, that if you don't know, back in the day in the Carrigan teams, sometimes Dev1ce was mainly like the CT side AWPer because he could just hold his spot and be passive, and he just had very consistent aim. He wasn't the guy on T side though. If you think of a map like Mirage that does like the pug run up fucking mid and then just shoot the guy in window, he's not going to do that like Kenny S and Guardian, because that is literally just like fastest draw in the West, and it's like if you kill me, you kill me. That's just over. He's more like he has to watch his fucking heat maps and his demos, so he has where's this guy going to be? CT side, he can do all the shit, yeah. But even then, I've always thought his style of play, that's why I don't think he's a game breaker. He does have like a passive element to his game. Now, he's the master of it. He knows how to get the like for me, he's one of those amazing like plus minus players where it's like he'll get like so much, even if you can say he wouldn't go for the players Simple would, he'll also die like the minimum possible times it's any AWPer could ever die. So it's like, essentially I can't say be like Simple, because like you're doing the best a human can do. That's pretty fucking good. But that's also why I didn't find that whole angle he said in that interview when he joined NiP at all plausible. You know, when he tried to claim like, well, I've never technically been the number one player according to a Serbian. And, you know, basically, I always like to just throw that in there so we all remember what reality is. You know, and that there is, who's that little guy behind the curtain there, says Thorin. Like, never mind that, look away, it's HLTV.org, the fucking masterful machine of ours. Like, so anyway, you can all just be munchkins if you want. But my problem is this. when he does that, right, he's never going to be the guy who does the things that those guys who get to number one do, which is sometimes they literally, like, Zima would just have to kill all the first 4 people on an entry, like just shoot them all in a row, and then he just won the entry himself. Like, simple, obviously, everyone's seen it. On CT's side, when they're losing on Nuke, he effectively just tells all of his teammates, like some fucking mad abusive pug shit, like, right, I'm taking your spot now, right, you're back there, right, I'm taking your spot now, like, listen, that looks amazing when it happens, but, like, Dev1ce doesn't do that. So in my opinion, like, I think I can't tell if he believes that himself, that he's going to be number one, he's going to change his playstyle, because to me it looks in line with what Vu said earlier. Like, it looks to me like he came along and he just tried to, like, the last month's been about integrating. He's not coming along like, I'm the best, like, play around me. It's like, so what do you guys want? So how do you guys play? Like, you even saw it in all those vlogs, you know. And so I don't know, because I even get a vibe from Dev1ce where I still haven't seen that 5th gear. I haven't seen the peak Dev1ce. And
Just
it reminds me, well, obviously, if anything, he's more unleashed there, isn't he? Like, that's where it's all gone. If anything, though, right, it reminds me actually a little bit of, like, Nico in G2, because Nico is really good and he's really consistent, but he never quite hits that, like, phase Nico top gear he had, like, a few years back where he could just be the best player in the world, you know. He's just, like, really good most of the time, you know.
I think that Dev1ce is like the richest, the billionaire versions of Acor, though. Like, he does take way more initiative. He does hit those shots. Like, he does, like, it feels like Dev1ce was just sandbagging really hard in those VODs, the vlogs of NiP,
right.
where he's like,
he was just setting up a narrative there.
Oh yeah, for sure,
okay.
for sure. Like
we
just got lucky with the.
You're taking me out of context. You're taking it all out of context.
We got lucky in the meta soundbite. Like, that quote is just the word. Just like, come on.
You almost
like,
couldn't construct a more insulting, like, offhand comment to make. By the way, another thing as well, I will just say, if you're going to say it in day one, you guys are sort of 5 steps ahead in practice. Probably should practice Mirage if it's in the map pool. If you've played 2 tournaments. Just saying, you know, I'd maybe give that one a quick go. It's even the fucking simplest one to practice, you daft fucks.
Yeah, everyone's going to play it against you. But I think that okay, my final take on Dev1ce at this tournament is just that this is what happens when NiP management says, hey, you guys, we're going to take out ZTR and we're putting in Linus, and you guys need to just play with him in 6 days. Okay, have fun. And, like, then they're like, what the hell is going on? Okay, let's try to make sure Linus is integrated as much as possible, and that might take away from everybody else getting comfortable, but at least we can run some competent T-sides.
By the way, am I missing something? Because obviously, if people don't know, the day this is being recorded was where, bizarrely, as if NiP hadn't had enough bad PR recently, everyone in the NiP org just decided to come out and say, like, oh no, the dumbest shit I could say that'd make everyone just fucking kick my head in would be, oh, there we go, I've done it, yep. And so, like, literally people who aren't even, like, in the team as coaches or whatever were just making all sorts of comments implying, like, this is incorrect analysis by probably the best analyst in the entire fucking world, you dumb fucks. So, okay, one of the takes that they didn't like was this idea of, like, oh, but should they be cycling through ZTR and LNZ, and will they use another player or whatever? The problem is this, NiP. When you tell us ZTR is calling on 2 maps, you cannot then go, actually, never wanted him as an IGL or even player in the team. It's like, that part makes no sense, because you haven't just said you're in the team. You've committed to him doing something in the fucking game. Similarly, by the way, that's why that angle that, oh, we didn't practice Mirage. Why you pick it every time then? What is this? Am I missing something? Like, someone did gun to your head or something? Is the secret thing, like the sponsor is you have to play Mirage every time? So what are you talking about? Like, you're contradicting yourself. Like, we're not taking you out of context here. You said the shit, you know.
It's
pretty mad, isn't it?
It actually feels like the top-down structure of NiP right now is like, it reminds me of Moneyball, where Billy Bean was like, here, this is the roster you're gonna play, and then the coach says, right, fuck you, and then I'm just gonna play however I want to play it, and then it's like, and that's exactly what happens. Like, the NiP or like Hampus is like he just sees what the NiP org is doing, and he's just like, hey, as ZTR, you know what, we're just going to set you up for maximum failure. You're just going to have to call and do every awful spot. So and then, like, the org's like, but that's not how we wanted him used. It's like, just like, there's obviously some kind of disconnect between. Right.
Here's the other thing. Yeah. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.